everyone. Welcome to Mentally Ellis Radio. You can skip to the timed mark where the discussion begins. Welcome to the show.
How loud?
As loud as you can afford.
Yeah, you're one of them. This time, this life. My life, Enya. It's gonna turn this corner on. I feel it in my heart. The end will come. Come on, you're one of them. I can't believe you. You're one of them. My lord. That was so sweet. My lord.
Excellence.
I'm so
just like a box full of shit I still got from my stupid high school sweetheart. Something so hard to destroy, 'cause a lot of that stuff doesn't burn so smoothly. Some people say that I'm crazy, out of my mind, I don't blame them. Some people wanna remember, some people wanna forget. Some people say that I'm crazy, out of my mind, I don't blame them. Some people wanna remember, some people wanna forget, some people wanna forget.
Yeah, and you know, I think that at a metaphysical level, the soul is actually the immune system of the human person. Yeah.
Yep, I absolutely believe that 100%. That's I'm so delighted to hear you say that.
You don't have any special authority. You don't have a legislative scribble that makes you different. You don't have a badge or a uniform that makes you different. You're just a person. So what you choose to do is your responsibility, and you're going to be held accountable for it. And it may make people mad. Even if you're in the right, it may make people mad. So there's a reason to talk things out and figure things out and do that. So just the approach isn't, well, what will the rules be that some entity told the rest of us we have to follow in our stateless society? There won't be one. There can be people who suggest stuff and write articles about, here's, I think, a good way to look at like due process.
Wake up, feel like a robot monk.
All right, welcome to the presentation. Today we're going to be talking about appreciation, the appreciation economy. Let's see if I can do this succinctly on the first try, winging it live without any prior recordings. This is making an argument that there is a mechanism of reality in which you can create your environment socially. this is something that exists even if people don't recognize it. We're going to get into it about perceived value and something that's actually valuable. Let's start out by reading a couple definitions. So, appreciation is recognition and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something. Graditude, a piece of writing in which the qualities of a person or the person's work are discussed and assessed. A sensitive understanding of the aesthetic value of something. A full understanding of a situation. Or the increase in monetary value, the appreciation over time. To set a price at, to appraise. The recognition and enjoyment of good qualities, of someone or something, and a full understanding of a situation, to have gratitude for something. Let me see here. We're going back to memetics and how memes spread as a cognitive element that can be copied. They generate thoughts. They replicate based on their value. They compete. Memes compete. And successful memes, the memes of success, identifiable success criterias. There's identifiable success criterias that make a meme valuable and able to be, or creates the desire for it to be copied or replicated, imitated. A meme is that which can be imitated, I believe. Culture or system of behavior. Yeah. So we're talking about a appreciation economy. I think when you look at the cultural trends, or if you look at anything, I guess the first thing that I wanted to one of the things that I wanted to mention first is this idea that nothing is good and bad in and of itself. Something can only be good or bad, or good or evil, if it's behavior. If you can only do good or do bad. The idea of something, just the information about something, or whatever that something is, without being put into practice, when it's just that thing in a vacuum, is not good or bad in and of itself at all. So we're going to be talking about that, I guess. I just put my headphones down because it was kind of distracting. Obviously, this is also what forms hierarchies. Success, the somebody who is well versed in successful memes. So let's read the definition of hierarchy. A system or organization in which people or groups are ranked one above the other according to status or authority. Authority. Let's look up authority. To have an authority of something. Oops. Authority. The power or right to give orders, that's one definition. To make decisions and enforce obedience, or a person or organization having power or control in a particular topical, political, or administrative sphere. Okay, that's not the one I'm looking for. Let's see. Those are both forms of authoritative power, for sure. The power to influence others, especially because of one's commanding manner or one's recognized knowledge about something. So there are two kinds of authority that we can see here. It looks like there's looks like these two are basically part of the same definition. So I want to talk about the difference between authority and leadership. The action of leading a group or people or an organization, the state or position of being a leader, the leaders of an organization. Okay, what else? Google has very little to say. The act of leading, I guess, is the best that we got. Let's look up what leading is. Let's see. Guidance. The amount of blank space between lines of print. To lead, to cause a person or animal to go with one by holding them by the hand. Okay, so you could say to teach, to show someone something, the way to a destination by going in front of or beside them. Be a route or means of access to a particular place or a particular direction. Okay, this all seems to be leading back to this idea that to lead is to have knowledge or truth, to have something to show that is worth showing. And then there's this idea of an authority figure, which is to be in charge and command of a conditioned army that is conditioned to obedience. See, there's two. I hope you guys can understand the difference I'm trying to say here. The difference between leadership and authority, and what good or bad hierarchies are. Because hierarchy by itself is neither good or bad. It's just this idea of a system in which people who know better will lead others naturally, because they have things that are worth showing and worth sharing, and there's this intrinsic value to having knowledge of the truth. And there's this idea of perceived value, like me and my sister in this previous recording, we're talking about prison society. A lot of people know what I'm talking about, like the whole prison rules. And there's perceived value, like if in a prison environment, in a school environment, which is very similar. You develop alpha beta relationships to get friends. It's very, because of the whole setup. The kids are being subjugated, the prisoners are being subjugated. That's the meme they're getting. To gain control over their lives, they subjugate others. Okay, it's very hard to step outside of the memes of your environment. All you have to work with are the memes of your environment. When we talked about the Trivium and the grammar pool, the grammar step, and everyone's environment is all they have is the things they can pull from their pool of knowledge, or their vocabulary, so to speak. So there are hierarchies in prison environments, but they aren't based on someone doing something that's true and good, but doing something that is dominating others and showing you how you can dominate others in this environment. And that's perceived as valuable because those people have followers or friends or whatever, and you can be a part of that. You can be a beta and work your way up to an alpha, and it's like there are perceived values and hierarchies, but they're not good, or they're bad hierarchies. I guess you could say there are bad hierarchies and there are good hierarchies. But so this idea of hierarchy by itself, this idea of leadership in two different contexts. One who leads by example because they have knowledge and they know the truth and they know how to do something better, Like in any field, the person who knows more is obviously going to teach more, and is obviously going to then be looked to more. And there you go. When you look to someone, that is leadership. When the example setter, someone who sets examples to be followed. And not necessarily, and there's a difference between setting examples to be followed and setting rules and laws to be followed, or somebody like is threatening you with coercing you to do something instead of setting the example of how you do something. Okay, so there's two different kinds of leadership. I hope you can see this, and two different kinds of authority. There's authority in and of itself, which is just, it's the power to influence other because of a knowledge about something, and the power to give orders and make decisions and enforce obedience. Okay, so you understand hierarchies, you understand leadership and authority, and when we're talking about appreciation comes in two different flavors. When you appreciate someone because they're doing good, or you appreciate someone because they're doing bad. So when you see someone doing something bad, you have wrath. It's a natural response is wrath. And when you see someone doing something good, that you see the value of it, you get gratitude. You appreciate that you have thankfulness and readiness to return kindness. Let me get a drink of water real quick. Hold up. So yeah, I think the main most important thing right now for everyone to learn is to take awareness and knowledge. And tell me if I'm wrong, or tell me if you think I'm making this all up in the comments, but this gratitude and wrath and appreciation economy, that when you do certain things, you start to develop either a surplus in either category or a deficit in either category. So you can have a deficit of gratitude and you can have a deficit of wrath, depending on your actions. And I understand that this is based on the perceived value of something, but you have to recognize that some actions are very little likely to be perceived in any other way than what they are. And to be aware of the conditions that your actions create. When you do just the smallest, littlest thing, if it involves somebody else, there's somebody else involved in that action that it affects, then you're going to get a increase of gratitude, or you're going to get appreciation. That any action that involves somebody else is going to be appreciated by that person. Okay, appreciation is to quantify or qualify the value of something. Okay, and that value is either going to be in the positive or the negative. Okay, and the condition that it creates, this directly affects how you are treated. This is basically like the science of karma, or the science of do unto others, or the science of consequentialism as far as behavior goes, is this appreciation economy and what it builds for you. Okay, like with your interactions with your environment, even the people at the grocery store that you only see once, you might see them again on the bus, or you might see them again, walking around in the mall or something, and they might recognize you, and then they'll remember you if they remember you, and if they're more likely to remember you if it's something, if there was an appreciation of something. When you appreciate a behavior, you also appreciate a person. It's an appreciation of a behavior, and then that behavior extends to that person. Even though I should reiterate that it's not healthy to hate people, it is absolutely appropriate to hate behaviors. That's why it's there. And That's why you have to use conscientiousness to not let that hateful appreciation extend to that person, and to own. But into the instance of gratitude, yeah, you can let your appreciation extend to that person, and it doesn't harm you. So being aware of just your actions and what they do, to what the slightest degree of how they affect how you are perceived by others. This also goes back to Jungian shadow work. Let's look that up real quick. Oh, I don't even know how to spell. I think that's it. Yeah, Carl Jung. So Jungian. Google sucks at fucking summarizing things. According to Google, it's the unknown side of the personality. The shadow, in being instinctive and irrational, is prone to psychological projection in which a perceived personal inferiority is recognized as a perceived moral deficiency in someone else. Yeah, they're talking about that's a summary of Jungian projection, but not necessarily a summary of what shadow work is. So, fuck you, Google, for giving us a super specific example as the definition. But I could summarize it for you as saying that, like, when you cast light or perspective on an object or person, you don't see the actual thing itself. You see the shadow that's projected, that's cast by the light or the perception. There's a shadow. When you shine light on an object, it casts a shadow on the wall or on the floor, and the idea is that all you're seeing about when you truly look at things, you don't have the ability to see inside another person or another animal. All you can see is what you see on the surface, the projection that they're projecting onto the world. Sometimes people project their own, personalities and intentions onto those behaviors that other people do, but that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the idea of the shadow, and what people see of you is when you wake up every day, you know what I mean? You take your hygiene, the way you look, but also the way that you act is what people know of you. When people think of you, they don't know your past, they don't know your feelings, they don't know anything. All they can see is what you are doing in the world and the behaviors and the actions that you are making. So the idea of looking back at your behavior and saying, how did that appear to others? And that's shadow work, is working with the shadow, looking at your projection on the world and saying, is this projection a true interpretation of me, or is it a false interpretation of me? Because you don't want your behaviors to be representing something that's not you. That means that you're being inauthentic. You're being a faker or whatever, without even realizing it. If you're doing and acting things that aren't who you are a faker or an actor. So if you wanted to be more authentic, or if you just wanted to be perceived as better, it's like either or. Like I think the true intention should be to be more authentic out of this. If you have this awareness of your shadow and the way that your actions and behaviors are influencing others, you could want it to just be a false, better reflection. That's not you. A lot of people do that, and this idea of gratitude can be used by psychopaths who have no good intentions, but are just simply getting gratitude of others through good behaviors just so they can be looked at in a good light. And I don't see anything wrong with that if they're doing good. All right? Intention doesn't matter. Behaviors matter. Okay? And behaviors are perceived a certain way. Okay? Like regardless of what your intention or what you intended them to be. All right? So that's why you look at the shadow. You look at what the way your behaviors have impacted or affected others, and you say, how is that actually perceived by the people in my life and the people out on the street or whoever? Obviously people are going to have their own skewed worldviews, and they can have there's misunderstandings that can occur, and you can do your best to prevent those misunderstandings by looking back at them and saying, oh, I did this, which might have given this impression, and I wouldn't want them to think that of me. I would want them to think the truth of me, or to think, something better than who I am. Either or. I don't see, like, I would think it's better to be more authentic, but regardless, you would still want there to be a surplus of gratitude over wrath, because that's how you stay out of trouble, and that's how you stay in good graces, and you balance and maintain, relationships that you get. Even if you're a psychopath, you get things from relationships, and you can maintain relationships simply by being aware of this appreciation economy and not letting yourself go into the deficit. Like, keep yourself above the line of, like, if somebody was really kind and generous and they shared all of their stuff, and they, it's like, oh, that person's, like, people know them as being someone who's, like, always shares what they have. But then they go and they crash at somebody's house and they don't pay rent. Like, over time, that gratitude is going to decrease until it reaches a point where it goes into the deficit, and it's like, regardless of everything you did in the past that was wonderful, for the last 3 months you've been taking advantage of this person, and now that you've gone below the line of what you've built, it is like a currency. Like, whenever you build gratitude, it's like this invisible thing. It's like this invisible credit score that already exists. And that's the thing also, like, I wanted to emphasize this idea of, for instance, government is not good and bad in and of itself. It's in practice that it's good or evil. Oh, government definition, motherfucker. Or I should say, a government is basically a ruling class gang, but the idea of gubernari mentis, to control the mind. Can you think of a circumstance in which to control the mind would be good and not evil? Can you think of it? An archon is a person who claims the right to rule or to exercise power or sovereignty, authority over other human beings. A ruler, a head of state. Okay? An archon, archonship is someone who claims the right to rule or to exercise the power or sovereignty, sovereign authority over another human being. All right? But, okay, so can you think of, did you guys get it yet? Can you think of when gubernari mentis might be appropriate? It might be appropriate to have, a monarchy means one ruler. Archon means ruler. Mon means one. One ruler. Can you think of when, regardless of it's an oligarchy or a monarchy, the idea of a monarchy is where it started. And the proper place for a monarchy is internally. It's an internal monarchy. When you try to exercise monarchy or archon, or to become an archon over others, that's when government, gubernari mentis, is bad. But if you use gubernari mentis internally and have a one ruler inside of you, you are ruling you and no one else. So everything that government does is a reflection of things that actually exist, actual, like we already have a social credit, like the whole social credit score thing, which I'm going to show you here.
2020, China plans to give all of its 1.4 billion citizens a personal score based on how they behave. So some people with low scores are already being punished if they want to travel. Nearly 11 million Chinese people can no longer fly, and 4 million are barred from trains.
Do you feel the hassle and effort when you keep recoloring your hair when gray strikes to come out? Worry no more.
Next week, the program will start expanding nationwide. Ben Tracy is in China with what's behind the government scoring system. Ben, this sounds like scary stuff. Good morning.
Good morning. The government here says it is trying to purify society by rewarding those who are trustworthy and punishing those who are not. So like the credit score that most Americans get for how they handle their finances, Chinese citizens are now getting social credit scores based on everything from whether they pay their taxes on time to how they cross the street. When Leo Hu recently tried to book a flight, he was told he was banned from flying because he's on the list of untrustworthy people. Leo is a journalist who was ordered by a court to apologize for a series of tweets he wrote and was then told his apology was insincere. I can't buy property. My child can't go to private school, he says. You feel you're being controlled by the list all the time. And the list is now getting longer, as every Chinese citizen is being assigned a social credit score, a fluctuating rating based on a range of behaviors. It's believed that community service and buying Chinese-made products can raise your score. Fraud, tax evasion, and smoking in non-smoking areas can drop it. If a score gets too low, a person can be banned from buying plane and train tickets, real estate, cars, and even high-speed internet. It's a good thing, this woman says. There should be punishment for people who can't behave. China's growing network of surveillance cameras makes all of this possible. The country already has an estimated 176 million cameras, and it plans to have more than 600 million installed by 2020.
It can recognize more than 4,000 vehicles.
Xu Li is the CEO of SenseTime, one of China's most successful artificial intelligence companies. It has created smart cameras for the government that can help catch criminals, but also track average citizens. This knows every person, every bike, every car, every bus.
You can tell whether it is an adult, a child, a male or female.
In several big cities in China, including here in Shanghai, the government is even tracking jaywalkers. Cameras record them going through intersections, zero in on their face, and then publicly shame them on nearby video screens. Ken Dewaskin has studied China's economic and political culture for more than 3 decades. He says how the new scoring system truly works is kept secret and could be easily abused by the government. How far into people's daily mundane activities does this go?
Well, I think that the government and the people running the plan would like to go as deeply as possible to determine how to allocate benefits and also how to impact and shape their behavior.
Now, there are upsides for people the Chinese government considers trustworthy. They can actually get better interest rates at banks, they can get discounts on their energy bills, and China's largest online dating site reportedly even boosts the profiles of people with high social credit scores. Nora?
Incredible. Ben Tracy in Beijing.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's the ultimate version of Big Brother's watching. No thanks.
Yeah.
Bone chilling.
Yeah, I think so too.
Bone chilling.
Imagine that. I mean, we do have in major cities, we do have cameras everywhere.
Yeah, but if you're jaywalking,
that is true.
Yeah.
Marking
That
it
is true.
down.
We do have
Right.
cameras.
if you're jaywalking, I still expect to be able to fly.
Yeah.
Please don't take that away.
Or allow your kid to go to private school.
Yes.
Oh, that's a great story to see what's happening there. Thank you, Ben.
That's a great story. That's a great story there. So yeah, looking at this as an example, I mean, with everything that, with all these concepts that the government offers, you could use on how you could better manage or look at the way that there's already a natural version of this in effect, and they're trying, like, what the government has always tried to do is usurp the natural order. There's already natural order. There's already natural justice. You know, the whole idea of punishment and reward being what teaches people the most effectively, which was discovered by the whole what's it called? It's like a study where they do it with lab rats. What's it called? It's like a social engineering. Or well, anyway, so yeah, the whole being punished or rewarded, is already in effect in our lives. You know, when we do something, there's an appreciation for that other people can either appreciate or not, but the appreciation is there for it to be looked at. Everything that happens is recorded. You know, like, not even by, okay, well, that's beside the point. I want to keep all the, like, the woo-woo as much as I can out of this. I'm just trying to, like, show you guys how there is, let's see, let's go back to this. There's a basic science to this. Like, when you, and you guys can all, like, take advantage of this and start like, taking control of your environments. Like this is how psychopaths control their environments, but you can also control your environment this way too. You don't have to do bad things, take advantage of people the way psychopaths do, but you can be aware of this. That this exists, appreciation economy exists. You know, you can take advantage of it, or you can just be a victim of it, or just not be aware of it. But it's like, this is like a little mechanism, or like, you know, like if there was a training manual, or not a training manual, but like an instruction manual for life that we were never given, this would be like on the first few pages. It's like watch what you do around others, and you know, like, be aware, at least be aware of what you're doing. If you're doing something that's going to manifest wrath in someone, oh yeah, I never looked at the definition of wrath, because we eventually have to get to the right to kill. Let's see here. So wrath or anger and hate are all unanimous, being something that is a natural response to somebody doing an action which puts them in the deficit of appreciation. And regardless of whether or not you act on this wrath, there's a condition of wrath that's created. You know, like, and it might not be, you know, this person who acts on it, but you never know who might act on it. You know, like you're putting, when you create wrath in others, you know, like that's the way that you can like the way that you're being treated by others is a direct reflection of that. When people have a deficit in appreciation for you. And also there's also you know, objective morality, regardless if you want to disagree or not, that theft, when you steal from someone, it will always create a certain condition where there is a justified response available to the other person. So you're putting yourself in danger, because they're justifiably capable, and they can either take advantage of that or not. You know, some people don't exercise that right, and that's okay too, but when they don't, you can be sure that you're in the hella deficit, where, like, don't expect anything from that person, don't expect, you know what I mean, like, you know what I mean, and you never know when you might need somebody's help, or you might, you know, at least need somebody's just decency, you know what I mean. There is a right to kill, and it is under the pretext of self-defense. It's hard. It's going to be a hard thing for everybody to hear. I had a huge argument with Mark Passio about it here. that you can listen to in my previous podcast, or you can find somewhere on his show. There was a lot to argue about here. See, I guess that's gonna be this is gonna be it for this show. I want you. This is a new kind of format I'm trying out. Because usually I have other people here to argue with me, and I think it's the arguments that you have are much more exciting than the presentation. So at this point, it would have to. At this point, usually the show would digress into arguments about a particular subject or another. One thing that I wanted to argue with someone about is whether or not doing something just for the sake of it'll get gratitude for you is like selfish or not. You know, like, is that selfish to just do something simply because you know that this gratitude economy exists or this appreciation economy exists, and you want to be you always want to be on the best side of someone, you know, or you always want to have a surplus of gratitude from someone so that, you know, things are easier for you. You know, you just simply want things to be easier for you. You don't care about them at all. You're just doing it for that reason. For all the psychopaths who could take advantage of this and do, you know, because it doesn't matter how much money you have. You know, like this idea of value, it's here in this, it's right here what I'm talking about in this appreciation economy. You know, like money, you know, credit scores, which I think, you know, credit scores are good for businesses. You know, that's a good way to keep records of people who don't pay their debts. But you know, like a social credit score, that's pretty fucked up. You know, but not that it's just fucked up, but that it's a usurpation. I don't know. It's usurping the natural order that actually exists between people. Like, you already are rewarded and punished depending on your behavior with directly the people that you interact with in your environment, whether they're close people that you're in some kind of a business or living or romantic relationship with, or just people that you know, just pass on the street and you see everyone's, you know, like with people in your area, if you live in a city or town, it's very likely that you see these people, you know, again and again in different random places, and they, you know, they might recognize you or not, just depending on, you know, if you're known for being polite or if you're known for being, you know, courteous. You know, there's a reason for doing these things in just for a practical way. And I don't think, and if it's for the best, you know, if you really are trying to do something that is good just for the sake, but you know it's good and you're doing it just for the sake of being on a surplus of gratitude with someone, I don't think that's selfish. I don't think that's bad. I mean, okay, it might be selfish, but I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad at all. And you don't have to just do that. You know, you can be aware of this and still do things just because you care about the person. Like, you want to do this because you love them or whatever, but you're still aware of the fact that, like, you know, you are creating your environment with what you're putting out into the meme pool. All right, so if you're having a tough situation with something, with someone, or someone's, like a few people, think about like how you can approach the situation differently to get it, like, to be more or less than what it is, to try to get more of what you want or less of what you don't want in that encounter. And It's about paying attention to what is actually valuable to people. You know, people like it. People like it when people don't like it when you know what I mean. It's like you learn what people like and what they don't like. You know, and then you adjust your behavior accordingly, depending on how much or how less of a deficit you want to, or a surplus of this appreciation you want. You know what I mean? Like, you can be like, okay, I'll sacrifice a little appreciation because this is what I want. I'm going to get my way this time. I mean, but you're at least aware of it. Like, oh, I'm going to lose a little bit of gratitude that I've been building up with this person. You know, and it's just, this is just common sense. I hope that none of this is something that's new, but I'm just trying to put this together in a way that's like, you guys, there's natural justice that exists. All right? Just look around and pay attention. All right? I guess that's going to be it for the show. I guess I could... Damn, I closed it. Play you out with a little Disheveled Cuss, the new album that just came out. Man, what the fuck?
Person if they killed the other person in the wrong, which is called murder. If they were defending themselves, exercising self-defense against violence, then no one should go after them.